Good afternoon. My name is Joseph Lloyd and I source cars for people on a professional basis. Although most of the cars I source are between £1,000 and £5,000, very often I've been asked to show something a little bit cheaper on the channel, and so I came up with No Budget Reviews, the series where we look at cars that you can buy in good condition with an MOT for under £1,000 and you can enjoy driving. We don't film this in an expensive manner, we don't use separate microphones, we don't use dual head tripods, we don't even use a DSLR, but we do have a lot of fun. Viewers, it is an exciting day. Not only are we back in the northeast and looking at some of the collection of Mr. Chris James, but we have another Rover 600 on the channel. I had one of these first of all when I actually owned one for a brief time in 2019. I had another one on the channel in 2020 when Mr. Coleman, Rubbish Mechanic, had one as well. We both had 620s with a 131 brake horsepower engine. This is actually a 618i Auto. It's a base model which doesn't look like it, with all these alloy wheels and colour-coded mirrors and colour-coded bumpers, but it is. It was originally owned by the Rover Group themselves, who registered in 1997. JW was a classic suffix that they used for their fleet and press cars at the time, along with sort of many others that you might know. It's been in the same ownership for quite some time actually. The gentleman who worked for Rover Group and had this as his company car actually bought it off them and owned it until 2019. It's only covered in a region of 77,000 miles. It's pretty low mileage really for something like this. It's now 25 years old. They are handsome cars, these. I never thought so at the time when these were current, but there seem to be loads of people who say now that this is one of the most handsome Rovers of the 1990s. And given this is just a sort of slightly rebodied Accord, they did a very good job of the design, actually, I think. And certainly with this kind of later spec, where they went all out on every car getting the colour-coded bumpers, every car getting the colour-coded door mirror caps, and alloy was fitted to, I think, the vast majority of the range, and it looks very good. Although when we get inside, we'll see why this is actually a base model. Now, the leather interior won't actually show you this because this was an option on this car that, for some reason, the Rover Group specified that their management should have it, which is fair enough, I suppose. But we've got loads of things missing comparative to my 620 GSI that was a year later than 1998. We've got no electric mirrors, for example. We've got things missing at the top, so no fog lights or anything. We've got windy windows in the back, as evidenced by this, where they're prominently completely missing. And no air conditioning or a sunroof, which on a day like this is not really what I want. I mean, it's around 25 degrees up here in the northeast today, which isn't as hot as some areas of the country, but it's hot enough, I can assure you. I think we'll maybe take a look in the boot first. So just pop the boot using the release. So I could use the key as well, but we will use that today. Just very little tiny specks of surface rust around various bits of the car, but they're going to be sorted out. There's nothing major on this car at all, really, especially in comparison to most 600s that you see. And this car was purchased just this week for No Budget Reviews money, which is nice. Just move my shadow out of the way. You can see there's a little hump in the floor of the boot. It's a huge boot, actually, in this car. And you can fold the seats. The folding seats come from, I think, the sort of SI or SLI and above. It depends on the year, actually. Some of the base models didn't have it, but this one actually, I think, does. And it's a later car, and also my GSI had them too. Full-size spare. Jack lives over there for some bizarre reason. I'm not sure why. There's plenty of room for all sorts of things that you might need. And one of the things that people loved about these cars was the chrome around that number plate at the back. It's one of the things people loved about these cars when they were new. Electric aerial, of course, and this car's actually got no rust around the rear arches, mostly. It's just a tiny little bit at the bottom there, but really it's very, very good for one of these. And you can pick them up for not a lot of money, you know, if it compares to, you know, with some other stuff of this era, considering what you actually get. I think that's pretty good. Right, let's try to take a seat in the back, shall we? Okay, this seat is set for Chris rather than me. Let's get in. There's not a lot of legroom, to be honest, in this car. It's a common thing with these Honda-based Rovers of the 90s. My 45, which is based on the early 90s Civic, is also lacking in the legroom department. Headroom is sort of okay there. The headlining is sagging a little bit. It's also a really, really common thing in Rovers from this era to have that. But it's not too bad. I've seen worse, to be honest, in one of these. Oh, we've got some brochures. Yes, please, viewers. Let's see if we can find the exact specification by looking at the back. So we have White Diamond is the name of the colour. And there we go. There's all the specifications of here. There was a 618 and a 618 aircon. This is a 618. By this stage, the special sort of models were out. The 618i, 618il, the ones we're interested in. They were still actually making the 623 as well as the Ti, but the 623is, which came before the 620 Ti, has gone. And, oh, viewers, a stone beige leather interior. I do like a nice beige leather interior. I would like one of those. As you can see, we've got optional alloy wheels on this because the 618 just came with wheel trims. It's one of the reasons the car looks a bit more special. This is presumably the granite leather interior. So there we go, we've even got accessories in here. It's all very pleasant and very exciting, and the armrest is down and it feels nice. It's squishy seats. I just wish I wasn't so tall, and then I'd be able to enjoy it a little bit more, but never mind. Windy windows, of course. You can see exactly where the window switch would be if this was a higher up model, and that is the colour of the standard interior if you didn't have leather, which this car does have. Nice big pockets as well, huge pockets for putting the maps in and things. Right, let's get in the front. Right, here we go. Exactly the same door handles as the Accord, of course. Lots and lots and lots of seat adjustment. We've got lumbar support on this as well. Very good. Oh, that's nice. Oh, it's good views. Yes, now I remember why the one I had was so comfortable. Plenty of headroom for the driver and passenger, even with this thing sagging. And interestingly, this has 4 and 5 positions for the heating and ventilation. No aircon here, of course. It's only a 618i, so you don't get that. Little strip of wood, although I think you got more wood if you went for some higher trims. This one doesn't have a lot of wood. Classic old Honda stalks. I'm not sure if they're exactly the same as the ones that I have in my Rover 45, but they're very similar. Headlamp leveling switch there, and also the interior the instrument binnacle illumination. I'll have to get my secret mission documents out in a few years because I am intrigued to see if they still fit in the glove box. Right, viewers, I took that little Rover branded pack out, so we'll see if we can get these in. No! Viewers, it's the 3rd car I've tested today and my secret mission documents haven't fitted in. Oh, well, I'll have to go there. Never mind. This is a later car, so it has a little sort of place to put a bottle of drink in this door pocket there. No courtesy light because it's only a 618i, so you don't get that. Well, you do get a nice sort of comprehensive lot of warning lights on here, and very, very, very Honda of the period font and everything like that. And this steering wheel, which is again straight out of the contemporary Accord. It is leather trimmed though, which is nice. And I recognise these bits here, which should be for things like the sunroof, but of course we don't have one, so nothing to see here really. 12-volt socket down here. The sort of chunky thing out of the cord, this automatic gear lever, normal handbrake, electric windows, and this is probably where the rear ones would be. We go in here. We haven't got much in there particularly, but an air freshener. I think those would be the heated seat controls if this car had them, but it doesn't. Right, let's have a look at the engine, shall we? So here we are, viewers. This is a Honda F-Series engine. It's quite similar to a D-Series engine, but obviously a little bit larger at 1.8 litres. Maximum D-Series, I think, is a 1.6. In this application, it generates 113 horsepower. You can tell that this car's had a historic cam cover gasket leak. Most of them do, to be honest. It's very common on these. It's not a hugely difficult problem to sort out. The 620 that I had also had this issue, and it was much worse than this, and that was, I think, about £20 for a cam cover gasket set to actually get one, and then Mr. Coleman very kindly fitted it for me. These engines do have a timing belt as well. Just make sure it's been done if you're buying one of these, and note that actually the gearbox is on the other side of the engine from where most engines would be, because this turns in the complete opposite way to something like a T-Series or a K-Series, which is interesting because Rover did fit the T-Series turbo to these, so the 620ti, so the gearbox would have been on that side. It's a common thing for Rovers of the 90s to have different orientations to that, which probably made their engineers a little bit annoyed at times. We can see the brake servo is very much there and everything like that. It can be a bit of a problem on the earlier cars to get the correct parts of things like the sort of brake servos and master cylinders and things like that, so do watch that if you're buying one of the other ones. The later ones are a bit easier to find parts for some reason. I don't know why that is, but there we go. Right, time for a drive, I think. Well, viewers, it does feel very, very nice to be back at the wheel of one of these cars again. I might just put the window up a little bit, actually. It's quite warm. So the base engine available in the 600s was this one, the 1.8 litre with 113 horsepower. Now, right at the beginning of 600 production, the base engine actually wasn't this. It was a 2 litre version of this engine with 115 horsepower. And that got ditched when the 1.8 was introduced. But the higher power version of that engine, which had 131 horsepower, that remained in production for most of the life of the car. That engine was in both the 620 GSI automatic that I had, and also in the 620 SLI manual that Mr. Coleman had. Both cars that you would have seen on the channel before had you been watching back in the day, because this is a long time ago actually that we filmed those. As far as higher power models went, there was a 2.3 engine as well, 158 horsepower, that went into two particular models, the 623IS, which was towards the sort of beginning of production of the 600, I think only for about a year, and then the 623 GSI that stayed all the way through. That was the sort of absolute luxurious top of the range model. But the fastest one of all was the tyre shredding T-Series turbo equipped 620ti with 197 horsepower. Apparently those are a bit of a handful. There are also some diesels available, but as usual, due to controversial government legislation and all kinds of other reasons, we don't talk about diesels on this channel. Lloyd Vehicle Consulting stickers, t-shirts and mugs are available by clicking the link to the Google form in the video description below. we do talk about are some trim levels for the 600. The base one was just called the I, like this, 618i or 620i. Then the SI, the SLI, the GSI. That came, I think, with a leather interior on most models. The TI, and then at the top of the range at the start, as we said, was the 623IS, which is a manual. The 623 GSI originally was automatic only, and I think the 623 GSI was the only one that had standard cruise control, which you know, in a car like this, which is quite comfortable and is definitely set up more for comfort than a sporty ride, apart from the TIs. And an automatic transmission suits these quite well, and cruise control would be nice, but we don't have anything like this on this car. But we do have the nice leather interior. It's a beige one. Towards the end of production, as you can see from the brochure, from 1997 when this car was made, they made these until 1999. They were replaced by the 75, and there were the 618 and 618i models. The 618IS was the sort of lower one, and the 618IL was the more luxurious one. Not like a special edition sort of run-out model type thing. The way this car drives is very predictable. It's classic kind of Honda ease and sort of good road holding, but a bit more in terms of the body roll than you'd expect from something like a Civic. They're not quite as kind of sporty to drive as say an EG Civic or something like that. They do actually have as well a little bit of a firmer ride than you'd imagine. They're not quite as soft as you'd think with a car with this much body roll would be. The power steering is not that communicative if you're going at high speed. It tends to just go a little bit light when you're going at very high speeds in one of these cars. But around town it's got quite a nice weight to it actually. One thing you might want to do if you own one of these cars, if you're not very good at reversing, is fit some parking sensors. I think only the 623 GSI got those, and I'd probably recommend it, because you just can't see anything really when you're reversing one of these. You just can't see it. If you're someone like me, then that's what you would do. But yeah, it's so comfortable. This really comfortable, very easy to drive. Yeah, one thing you don't get is great fuel economy with the 618, 620 and 623 automatics. There are actually all three available. So you've budgeted around 25 to 30 miles per gallon in one of those. If you've got a manual car, they have far better fuel economy. Although I didn't find the gear change in Mr. Coleman's one, which is a very nice example. I didn't find the gear change particularly good in that for some reason. I don't know why. But yes, should you consider buying one of these cars? Well, if you find one that's not rusty, that has had the cam belt changed, and you know, everything working, including the driver's window, then considering these cars are still well within no budget use territory, even for ones like this, then why not? So thank you for watching this episode of No Budget Reviews. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video and leave a comment below. It all very much helps out, and we'll see you again soon for more low-cost motoring.